Hey, it's my friends. It's good to see you today. We're on a nice, sort of a cloudy but warm Wednesday. Looking forward to a little bit of warmer weather uh, as we continue on this odyssey and this adventure that is the COVID quarantine. I hope all of you in Bellevue and whoever else might be listening to this are finding ways to occupy time uh, with an attitude towards not just toughing it out and making it through, but really using this as a time to get stronger. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today as we talk about a framework for doing that. One thing I wanted to do just to follow up on yesterday's comments about homeschooling, and this is just something I talked about with my wife, and so this is really coming from her, as I told you, she's a ninja about this stuff and really knows a lot about the process and has worked really well both with school people and with homeschool people. We've learned a lot about both of these worlds, and so I want to offer again our services. All you have to do is contact me at the email that's in the notes for this. But here's the thing. When kids are pulled out of school from a school experience into a homeschool experience, the first thing to remember is that that is usually a voluntary choice. That's not usually something that happens by force of circumstances. And so both parents and kids know that it's happening. And in that situation, it still takes time for kids to adjust to the new situation, to the new schedule. And in the homeschool world, they call that decompression or even detox. It takes time to rest into the new situation. There can be all kinds of reactions that go with that. And I'm sure that many of you as families have encountered some of these where there's the excitement of it, there's the sadness of it. It's all those things that we've talked about. There's a range of emotions that people go through whenever there is change. And just again, to encourage you as parents, this isn't a choice you made. This choice was made for you. And there are circumstances that are outside of your control. It's when things happen that are out of our control that we experience a lot of anxiety and concern. And so we have to be intentional about working through that because change is difficult. Even good changes can be challenging. This one is really putting a lot of us to the test. We can respond in three ways. We can let it beat us. We can let it discourage us. We can go to hopelessness. We can tough it out and endure and persevere and hope that we get through it. Or we can use it as an opportunity to actually get stronger. And what we want to do is find ways to get better, to get stronger. So today I'm going to introduce a way to kind of gauge how you're doing as you work through these things. Now, this is cheesy, but I think it can still be helpful if you want to use it just in your minds. What are we doing in certain areas? So I've got a visual aid today. I made this up all by myself. We are going to be Bellevue Inspire, or we're going to be Inspire, or we're going to be Inspiring. We're going to be Bellevue Inspires, or we're going to be Inspired. Okay, so I haven't worked all that out yet. But this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this word inspire and especially the 5 capital letters, which are SPIRE. These are 5 areas in everybody's life, every family life, every individual life, that we need to be consciously working toward to get stronger, or if we don't, we have a tendency then to get weaker. And so these 5 areas, if we look at INSPIRE, the S stands for spiritual, the P for physical, the I for intellectual, the R for relational, and the E for emotional. And what we're going to do over the next few days is go through each of these letters and talk about why they're important and why we need to work on each of these, and especially why we have to be intentional, because we will get weaker if we don't work on it. Any of us, and I'm talking especially to parents, maybe even to older kids, who have been in any kind of a relationship know that if we don't work on that relationship, the relationship doesn't get better. Things don't get better by themselves. Any of us who have tried to keep maybe a small garden and we went out and planted some seeds and then we just wait and see what happened. We go back in August. It doesn't get better. Things don't get better unless they are worked on. But in times of stress, we will have a tendency not to work on those things. We'll have a tendency to just try to get through. And if we just try to endure, there's a natural tendency for things not to get better. So if we look at these 5 things, spiritual, just to talk on that briefly, spiritual is not necessarily about whether you believe in God or don't believe in God. It's about how you think the world works and what you think really matters. It's possible to have a very strong spiritual resource, a strong sense of spirituality, even if it's not about God. It's maybe easier if you have a bigger vision of the world, but for some people, their family identity is their spiritual strength, or a sense of hope that things will always get better and a belief that that's how the world works. We'll talk about spirituality as we go along, not so much trying to persuade you what to believe, but that you should be aware that you believe something. Everybody believes something about how the world works and what the purpose is and what the meaning is. And certainly if you have kids even as old as 6 and 7, they're starting to ask questions about why are we here and why does the world work the way that it does. The coronavirus gives us a great opportunity to talk about that. The other one's physical. That's really obvious. Are you taking care of yourself physically? I just thought of this morning. I flossed my teeth today. Some of y'all need to floss your teeth. Some of you need to brush your teeth. The reality is we don't take care of ourselves physically when we're not in a routine sometimes. We need to do things like shower, brush our teeth, do the sorts of things, kids, that will help you be a more pleasant member of your family. Some of you do not realize that. I'm just going to lay it out. Just how bad you smell right now because you have just not taken a shower. Like, why should I? I'm not going anywhere. You should because you care about your family. Intellectually, we need to get smarter, and not just smarter in terms of what we know, but smarter in terms of how we use our brain. We're not going to let our brains become passive by just watching things all day. Relational, how are we getting on with the people we're living with, and how are we connecting with people outside of us? And finally, emotional. What are we doing emotionally to learn to manage and understand and be self-aware of our own feelings? How are we handling those things? So as we move into the rest of the week and on to next week, we'll cover those, and everything we do, we're going to filter through this lens of Bellevue inspiring. Bellevue inspires. Be inspiring. We're gonna. I don't know. You help me out. Send me some ideas. We're gonna figure out some ways to use this, but we're gonna filter the things we do as if each of those letters, SPIRE, are a dial. And are we improving in that? Are we intentional in those areas? Or are we letting them drift a little, and can we get control of them? I hope you have a great day. I just encourage you again, relax, enjoy each other's company, find ways to delight in each other. If you haven't maybe started that family journal that we talked about last week, maybe today's a good day to do that. And maybe you could even write our Inspire journal. These are the 5 areas. Talk about how you're doing in those things. Maybe each day talk about one of those letters. What did we do in the spiritual or the intellectual or the emotional area today? These are some ways that you can begin to structure a little bit of how you process this together as a family. I hope that this stuff is helpful. Certainly leave me some comments or send me an email. I'd love to hear from any of you. And I make myself available for real. Like you guys, I got a lot of time. So if you want to set up a video chat sometime just to talk about how things are going at your family or ways that I can help, please let me know about that. I'll be happy to do it. Hey, have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.